first came to London Print Studio when I did the MA in printmaking in professional practice, which was taught together with the University of Brighton. So I used the studio on a weekly basis during my MA, and then I carried on using it as an open access workshop for a few years now. The work in this exhibition, there are two photo etchings. Photo etchings are images that you put onto a metal plate by etching them in acid and then inking up the plate and putting it through the press. The figure in the work is the Japanese dancer and choreographer Chisato Minamimura, and she's actually deaf and she's doing Japanese sign language in these works. I gave her a poem to sign from Ecclesiastes called The Time for Everything, and that's given rise to a series of works called Time to Love, Time to Hate, Time to Laugh, Time to Weep. And in these particular two works, there was a line in the poem which was time to mend, and she translated mend as sewing, like darning. So the sign she's doing is threading a needle. So I decided to combine her images with textiles or clothes. So in one image, which is called A Time to Measure, it's a dress, which is in fact an old family christening robe from the 1920s. And the image looks slightly ghostly, so it's kind of like a memory of something that was there or might be there in the future. And in the other work, there's a long piece of textured fabric which looks like a barrier, which to me represents a difference between the physical and the subconscious. I've used sign language for some years now, and the reason for that is that I think that the truth of the photographic image combined with the emotion and gesture in sign communicates in a very powerful way. There's a spatial quality in sign language. The signer uses the area around their body, space around their body, which lends itself to visual work, to visual art. Well, I believe that it's one of the earliest forms of language. It predates spoken language, and as such it taps into some quality in the brain. Other artists that use the physical embodiment of language that I've looked at are Bill Viola in particular, and also Sam Taylor Wood, and Bruce Nauman has used sign language. He's done a whole series with hands, which were quite powerful. And some new work that I'm working on now is with another model who happens to be an artist called Won Jin Ho. He's Chinese, and we had a collaborative photo session in a photographer's studio with a friend of hers called Paul Weaver, and she signed Amazing Grace, and she started to jump in the studio, and so I've combined pictures of her leaping off the ground with images of sky, which is appropriate because Amazing Grace is all about transformation.